Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we have an exciting announcement of the next Hearthstone expansion. It's about time. Literally, Hearthstone's Across the Timeways expansion launches November 4th, adding 145 new cards in a time warping storyline that pulls Warcraft heroes from every era into one epic showdown. Bend time at your will with the new keywords Fable and Rewind, harnessing the power against the greatest warriors of all time, and even rewinding the cards to play them again. So we have two new keywords. We have Fabled and the Rewind. We're apparently going to see a lot of heroes we saw in the past. I myself have seen some of the mechanics and stuff already, and it seems pretty exciting. And for those of you who RNG does not swing in the correct way, if you're like a casino mage player, we'll have the ability to rewind and get all of the results again. So again, November 4th is when it's coming out. 145 new cards is what it is. And then we have, of course, the new rewind mechanics. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Time travel is coming to Hearthstone. Great. Rewind is a new keyword that lets you replay cards with random effects for another shot at a better outcome. We've all had the spell go sideways or watch minions effects miss the mark. Now, if a card has rewind, you'll be offered a chance to rewrite history. Do you stick with what happened, or do you rewind the timeline? The power to change RNG crossed out with fate, it's pretty funny, is in your hands. So for example, let's say you play the Yogg box and the outcome is not something you want. You'll have an option to hit rewind or like continue or keep. And then if it rewinds, it'll go back and then recast Yogg box at the start. Granted, I don't know if there's going to be a Yogg box type card, but that's pretty much how it works, which I think is pretty good, right? Like rewind might be the first new mechanic that actually hits, because as we know, RNG in Hearthstone can be extremely swingy. But also, let's say you were hoping your opponent didn't high roll and then they rewind into the high roll. So you get to rewind. If you're me, you just rewind into like something even worse. But if you're your opponent, you're always just going to rewind into something better. And I can't wait to get mad at that. So taking a look at some rewind cards here, we have the semi-stable portal, we have the portal vanguard, and we have Mr. Clocksworth. So Mr. Clocksworth will be the free login reward, I believe. So everybody's going to get him for free through logging in. The portal vanguard, I believe if you go to your shop, you should be able to get this card for free. So you actually are going to be able to get two new cards from the new expansion early as like their gift to you. Mr. Clockwork is an 8 mana 3/3 with rewind 3 times, and he says battle cry, summon 2 random legendary minions. So you'll be able to, you summon 2, if it's bad you rewind, summon 2, if it's bad you rewind, and if it's summon 2 it's bad, you get to rewind. So you get 3 rewinds on this card, which I believe, I feel like that's a fair shot to get 2 legendaries that are pretty good. We have the 3 mana 2/2 dragon, rewind, battle cry, draw a random minion, give it +2/+2 with rewind. So it also seems pretty good because if you don't get the right minion, you can just rewind that. So it's pretty targeted, and I think the Portal Vanguard is not that bad. And then for the mage, we have a 2 mana rewind, add a random minion to your hand. It costs 3 less, and it has, again, rewind 1. I don't believe this card to be that good. Granted, that like a random minion period, but it could be good. Who knows? But I think the rewind effects is what's going to make these cards stand out, because having the option to just like try it again is, I think, pretty cool, and probably the closest thing we've had to what I would almost consider a playable mechanic in quite some time. I think tradable, right, was like the best mechanic we've had in a long time. And then we also have we had Twin Spell that I think was fairly successful. If there's something I'm missing that was a really good keyword, let me know. I know Kindred was not good. I think Corrupt back in those were pretty good too. The Corrupt with Ticketus, not the Ticketus was my favorite. It's just when I think of Corrupt, I think of Ticketus. And then we have the new keyword Fabled, and that is wield the powers of Warcraft icons in the past, future, and alternate timelines. These storyline heroes are so powerful, they bring extra legendary cards with them that automatically start into your deck. A Fabled legendary arrives for every class pulled from the timelines, both known and never seen before. So this is actually really cool. I know that didn't really make any sense on what that meant, so we're just going to keep scrolling down, and this is what it is. So for example, if you put in the Ranger General Sylvanas into your deck, it puts all 3 of them into your deck, and it takes up 3 deck slots. So one legendary is technically 3 different legendaries, and then generally they really synergize together. So for example, it says Fabled, so knowing that you're going to get 2 more legendaries when you put it into your deck counting for 3. I don't think this thing is working right now because I'm not on the normal one. But yeah, we have a 3 mana 2/4 battle cry, deal 2 damage to all enemies. If you've played the other copies of this, repeat for each. So if you played the ranger captain before you played your general Sylvanas, it'll do 4 damage to everything. If you played these two before the one on the left, it'll do 6 damage to everything. And then remember, all 3 of these are going into your deck. Like, it moves all 3 of them like a batch. Like, remember we used to play duels and you get like blocks of spells or cards? This is very similar. You move 1 and all 3 go in the deck. But again, you don't go above 30 cards. So this counts for 3 of your 30 cards in your deck, but the 1 card splits into 3. So taking a look at their full effects, we have Discover a spell if you played Sylvanas or Varisa, repeat for each, and then Battlecry, give minions in your deck +1/+1. If you played either of the other 2, repeat for each. So obviously the one that you play last is going to be the most powerful and have the most benefited effect. So pretty good stuff there. I like that. And then again, it's like a past, current, and then future, right? So it's like you get 3 versions because they're across the timeline. All right, so we have the Paladin one, which is 8 mana 6/6 Fabled. Put 1 of each aura from your deck into the battlefield. That seems really insane. But 1 of each aura. We haven't seen auras in a while besides Crusader aura, which was really annoying. But Paladin had one that, like, on the left or right, it was like give it plus attack and like lifesteal. And then you have the one that like increases the mana cost of your opponent's spells. And then you also have the one that summons minions at the end of the turn. So we haven't really seen much of the other auras in a while. We have the Gnomish aura that has tradable. At the end of your turn, restore 4 health to all of your characters last 3 turns. That's not bad. And then we have the 5 mana tradable. At the end of your turn, give a random friendly minion +4/+4 and divine shield, and then last 3 turns. So once you play this guy, it's going to summon these out of the deck if they're still in the deck, which they should be because they have tradable. So you're able to play these just to play them, or you tradable back in your deck, you'll play this, and then you basically get 4 health to all of your characters, including your hero and your minions, and then you get the +4/+4 and divine shield, making this guy an 8 mana, what would be a 10/10 with divine shield, and then also heal for 4. So this seems like a pretty powerful card. I think the key part is these have tradable and they can't get caught in your hand, so this isn't bad. Pretty interesting for Paladin. I mean, Paladins with auras and bubbles. I fact that also it's 1 of each aura in your deck, so like it's gonna pull the other auras too. Like, so you can have, but you're basically going to have 5 auras if you're playing an aura deck and he comes out and you hadn't drawn the rest. So this seems like a pretty good card. It's like a Doctor, it's instead of secrets, you're going to aura. This is kind of like a Doctor 8 or a Paladin now. So taking a look at some more Paladin stuff here, we have some Drugons. We have the, oh, it's a new aura. Okay, so the 5 mana holy card at the end of your turn, summon a 3/5 dragon with taunt, last 3 turns. That's a good amount of value for 5. So that's, what is that? 9/15 in stats over 3 turns. I think the fact that it has taunt is huge, and it's at the end of the turn. And then we also have the Manifested Timeways, which is a 4 mana battle cry. If you control it, aura, deal 3 damage to all enemies. That just seems cracked. I think this is actually just the best card that we've gone over. 4 mana 3/3, just deal 3 to everything. If you have an aura out, and you know you're probably going to have an aura out from turn like basically 3 to the rest of the game. So 4 mana into a body that deals 3 for Paladin is pretty cracked. So yeah, or a Paladin looking like a real deck here. Moving down to a Demon Hunter card, bend time to your real. Rewind and Fable are just the beginning. Access to Timeways offers even more ways to control the game itself. Timeway Warden imprisons an opposing minion for 10,000 turns, the average length of a control warrior match, or until the warden dies. It'd be a shame if the warden were silenced. Which means the card would be dormant forever, which means if you go like Magtheridon and then you imprison Magtheridon and then silence this card, you just have a forever Magtheridon on the board. Which, if you just do this with a bunch of Magtheridons, that could be interesting. And none of this actually works because I didn't read the card and just started talking. It says imprison an enemy minion, which means you can't use it on your own minions, which is quite sad. And I'm pretty sure it's because of the thing I just talked about. All right. And then Divergence, split a random minion in your hand into 2 halves. And it says Divergence takes a minion in your hand and splits it into 2 perfect 4 cards with powerful effects. So for example, I think it's going to go like with the old Ragnaros split. So if you have a Rag for 8 mana 8/8, it'll split it so they're 4 mana, but they both have the same effect. You're basically just getting half off and getting 2 copies of like a very powerful battle cry or end turn of effect and stuff like that. So for Warlock, it does make sense. This will probably lead to some wacky OTKs, I can promise you. This card will either see no play or it's going to be the centerpiece of some very serious shit. And then Ali with the Protectors of the Timeway, and of course with time travel without Nor's Dormu as the leader of the Bronze Dragonflight, the Guardian of Time, not to mention Chromie's boss. He's at the center of this temporal catastrophe. Technically, he's on both sides of it. You may already know he's Morazan, the one and only and the same. You're good at anagrams. You saw this coming a mile away. Morazan is Norazan's corrupted future self. Still, Norazan's willingness to fight his future self reminds us that no matter how black the future looks, no fate is inevitable. The fact that the theme of duality runs throughout the set, Soldier of the Bronze and the Soldier of the Infinite, represents opposite sides of a time war, and their card designs mirror each other in several ways, which is kind of crazy. Again, I hate time stuff myself in movies, but I guess in a card game it probably can work out, especially Hearthstone, because it's not like a physical game, right? But generally, yeah, time traveling in most movies and in lore is really bad. But for the sake of the card games and the sake of just having fun, I think it'll be probably a pretty good time. So we have a 3-mana 8/8 dragon, dormant for 5 turns. It has rush, and then after you play a card from the newest expansion, awaken 1 turn sooner. So I guess what makes this card semi-interesting is it just says the newest expansion, which means in the future expansions, he also, like, the newest expansion right now will be this expansion, but the next expansion to come out, he's still playable because that's technically still the newest expansion, which I think that's pretty cool, right? Granted, a lot of times we don't really see a lot of cards played from the newest expansion. However, he is a neutral card, which means he can weave into quite a few decks that probably do play a lot of the new cards. So I think this potentially could be actually really, it reminds me of a potential new corridor creeper, because playing a bunch of cards in 1 turn sounds like a rogue thing or a warlock thing. And if they're playing a bunch of new stuff because it's broken, you know, I can definitely see a 4 mana or a 5 mana 8/8 with rush coming out, which does seem pretty good. Then scrolling down to some more dragons, we have the Soldier of the Bronze, taunt, battle cry, double this minion's health. So it's a 5 mana 5/6, okay. And then we have a 5 mana 3/5 battle cry, double this minion's attack. Obviously, if you buff these in any way in your hand, then obviously the double is going to be quite good, but I do not believe these are going to. I think there's more of arena stuff right here. And then, as we know, pre-orders are probably going to go out. We always do bundle giveaways for you guys on the channel. So if you're not subbed, feel free to do that so you can be eligible when that time comes. And then I also do them on Twitter and then on Twitch. So if you don't follow me on any of those platforms and you want a chance at the bundle giveaways once we do them, which will probably be pretty soon, feel free to check me out on there. All those links should be in the description below. And then generally people do ask, hey Rob, like, are the pre-purchase bundles worth it? You know, if you have a limited funds to spend on Hearthstone, which most people do, pre-purchase bundles are generally your best bang for your buck, because besides that, it's just like buying packs, right? But you do get a good amount of packs. You get like a free legendary, you get like a card back, you generally get like an extra bonus of other things and golden packs for a pretty decent price. So if you do, or if you ever did have the question of, you know, should I do the pre-purchase, if you can spend the money and not think about it, you do like Hearthstone, then it generally is a good deal. Well, one of the better deals that they do have in Hearthstone. Don't be fooled when it's like 30% off sale. Hearthstone don't have no sales. We get the pre-purchase bundles, and that's about it. That's your best bang for your buck, is waiting for pre-purchase, and then that's it. So with that, hopefully this new expansion shakes up the meta. We've been in I would say a kind of a tough time the past month or two, just in regards to just being completely controlled by a StarCraft mini set decks and not really seeing any new infusion of stuff. And the buffs and the nerfs that they've put out for balance patches have been, I would say, suboptimal and not really landed the game to where I would like it to be, in regards of the good decks that have been good for 3-4 months now have still been good, and then the bad decks are still really bad. So Imbue Shaman, there's Imbue Hunter, I mean, there's entire archetypes and mechanics that are new that just see no play and haven't seen play since they've come out, and it's just kind of been sad. Hopefully we get put in a good direction, or at least this will set us up for the beginning of next year when there's the, you know, the standard rotation and the core set rotation, and there's a lot more room to kind of balance and see where the meta is, because as we know, the first expansion to release each year is when the rotation happens, and that is by far the best time to play Hearthstone and the best time to really try to figure out what's the direction we're taking this game in, and really like balance the meta in a way that like decks stand a chance, and we don't have these just, you know, at top legend it's 2 decks and Quest Warlock and Freyak Rogue and that's it. That's not fun. So always love to hear your feedback in the comments section below. As always, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.